Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. It is Monday, the 1st of December, the first day of summer on the meteorological calendar. If you go by the astronomical date, you've still got 3 more weeks of spring to go. Let's kick off with the satellite and lightning map today. A few thunderstorms offshore to the west and just to the north of New Zealand. We've actually got high pressure up here between Fiji and Tonga and the top of the North Island, but there is low pressure growing. You can see a couple of low pressure centres out in the Tasman. That's going to form into one large low over the next sort of 36 to 48 hours and then cross over New Zealand. The other feature, the polar boundary coming back in here to South Australia, Victoria, and obviously Tasmania. So they've got a colder, more wintry setup at the moment as that moves on through. And that blue boundary, the polar boundary, does brush the lower part of the South Island. So you might have noticed your temperatures are down around Southland and Otago and other areas to the south over the next couple of days. It warms up a bit more as we go through the week. So here is the air pressure map. A lot of low pressure in the dark shading around the Tasman Sea, but also out to the east and the south of the country. So quite a large area to allow low pressure in the Tasman Sea to get larger. The nearest high, the one to the north here, as I just said, it is blocking any sort of tropical energy from coming down our way for now, although the anticyclonic airflow, part of the reason why you've had these warm nor'westers around. Last night, pretty warm around the top of the country, thanks to that airflow. Here is Tuesday's setup. So still a lot of low pressure out in the Tasman, but as you can see, no real storm, no big sort of significant area. But this is going to form quite quickly from lunchtime Tuesday to lunchtime Wednesday, as you're going to see in a moment. The polar boundary leaving Tasmania, but now brushing the lower part of the South Island. We've got some showers around. Some of those might be heavy with even some isolated thunderstorms in the area. And any thunderstorms in the north of New Zealand, they are likely to remain north of the country, but we do get a little bit of wet weather brushing Northland and maybe a couple of showers Taranaki down towards places like Horowhenua. Now look at Wednesday, quite a change as this low comes in. So we talked about this last week, seeing this low forming. Now we can kind of lock in a bit more how it's going to shape up. This is a 24-hour rainfall. So from lunchtime tomorrow, Tuesday, to lunchtime Wednesday, you're seeing a fair bit of gold and yellow and green around the North Island. So that's anywhere from 10 to 40 millimetres coming through for those areas. And if you're in the blue shading, bottom of the scale, 0.2 to 5 millimetres. So not necessarily a lot coming in for the lower North Island and much of the South Island, but like I say, you never know, you might get a couple of heavy falls in some areas of the South Island. So the low moves in, northerly winds for the top of the country, easterly winds as you come in here to Canterbury, and the further south you go, those airflows start to change and kind of fade out a wee bit as you run into that polar boundary around Southland. On Thursday, the polar boundary's gone, but the low pressure zone moving out to the east, actually getting stronger as it deeper as far as the air pressure is concerned, just as it passes by the Chatham Islands there. So we are expecting some instability, could be a few thunderstorms around there, but here's the good news. The eastern side of the North Island that needs rain. It is the driest part of the country. So if we can get a bit of rain in there, and look, I wouldn't 100% lock this in. You're seeing how rapidly that low is forming. Things could still change just in the next 24 hours as far as exact precision of the low and who gets the most rain. So we'll update this again on Tuesday for you. But at the moment, you've got a chance of 50 to 80 millimetres coming through for some parts around like Hawke's Bay, for example. Like I say, it's a little bit iffy. Some areas to the north and the south don't have anything like that, but there is a chance, at least going from Wednesday to Thursday, of some wet weather along the eastern side of New Zealand and not so much at the top or the very bottom. Now let's go to Friday. High pressure comes back in. This is just the normal rain map at the middle of the day, not 24 hours of rain, which is why you don't see as much wet weather around. But high pressure pretty much in control of the top of the country. So we've got a southwesterly or a west to northwesterly. And as you go further down the country, as you get closer to low pressure south of New Zealand, you get into that squash zone where the winds squeeze together. Certainly that's what we're seeing here. A chance of gales on Friday, maybe even severe gales, just around the lower part here of the South Island, and some heavy rain, mostly in Southwestland and Fiordland. Most other places are dry, and I gotta say, subtropical or Australian nor'westers means Friday is going to be much warmer for those of you in the lower South Island, making up for the kind of cold start you've got to December. Here we go into the weekend. So high pressure again north of New Zealand. Now La Nina has officially formed. We've got that in our Climate Watch update out today. But it's important to remember that while you've got high pressure north of New Zealand, that acts like an invisible brick wall and it stops those tropical lows and the tropical energy from coming down our way, at least for now. Now, on the other side of the high pressure belt, that's where you've got the warm northwest winds coming into the country. They are subtropical, curving around Brisbane, straight into the South Island. So again, Friday, Saturday, you got pretty warm weather around New Zealand. And our final map for Sunday kind of emphasizes what I'm talking about when it comes to La Nina. That yes, you've got more low pressure up around the islands, more easterlies, more wet weather, and high pressure east of New Zealand. That's kind of a classic La Nina setup. But at the same time, the Southern Ocean is even stormier. It's got a lot more energy down here. And the polar vortex, this blue line, which is south of that is the polar airflows, the much colder, drier airflow versus the red line where it's tropical, heavy, humid air to the north. This blue line is really wavy, ups and downs. And of course, when it drops down, it gets hot in New Zealand. When it comes up, we get cooler weather. So at the moment, when you've got these big storms down here and the blue line going up and down, it's still going to feel like a spring-like pattern. It's windy days, some cold fronts, a little bit of cold air brushing the South Island in particular. But around the north, it might feel more like La Nina with easterlies and more humidity and higher temperatures. So I think the safest way to say it is that we're going into December with a similar weather pattern to November, but while it's spring-like, it's quite likely going to have summer-like temperatures in a number of regions, so warmer than usual in a number of spots at the moment around New Zealand. So there we go, that is the forecast. Just before I leave, 7-day rainfall map showing driest areas around Canterbury, Marlborough and inland parts of Nelson, but the North Island seeing some rain, and like I say, this portion over here around Hawke's Bay, Manawatu area, not 100% locked in. We'll have to wait till tomorrow's update to have another look at that. But really, we are seeing some wet weather around the country, keeps the grass growing. If you mow the lawns, you'll certainly know that. And it's good for the gardens, good for the economy to have some wet weather. But hopefully we can get some drier weekends and some of that wet stuff falling on the weekdays. That is all from me for today. Don't forget to check out our Climate Watch video, make a little more sense of La Nina, the Southern Ocean storms, and what's on the way weather-wise around our part of the world over the next few weeks ahead. Have a great day. See you again tomorrow, Tuesday.